They say the most powerful magic isn't found in a dusty tome or a hidden cave. It's found in the corners of our daily lives, the way we set our intentions and build a life that feels as sacred as it does successful. Welcome to the Coven's Corner. We're here to bring you grounded, accessible magic every witchy Wednesday, and there's a seat at our table for you. So grab a cup of tea, and let's look at the world a little differently. Our circle is open. Let's begin. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Coven's Corner. Our circle is open, and we're so happy to welcome you back to our altar today.
Welcome back, everyone. It's so nice to sit down and connect with you all again.
So before we jump into today's topic, let's do our quick weekly vibe check. So Dawn, what's on your altar or your mind this week?
So on my altar this week, I have some greenery that I cut from the yard. A piece of green fluorite. I love fluorite. A piece of green fluorite to help me connect with the landscape. On my mind, I've just been thinking about how quickly time is flying by, and how easy it is to lose track of time if you aren't paying attention. It just seems like you blink and time is gone. Mm-hmm. So what about you, Case?
I completely agree. So on my mind this week, it's the challenge of finding a slower pace. Working in academic support, my days can get entirely eaten up by meetings and schedules and emails and all the things.
Zoom should be illegal.
So sometimes I look up and I realize I have spent the whole day under fluorescent lights without even looking out a window. And so I've been trying to make a conscious effort to step outside, even if it's just for 5 minutes, just to feel the air, connect to the earth, and, just soak up some vitamin D.
Right, I absolutely understand that. So that adds a whole other layer, because for me, in career services, you're not just managing your own energy, you're constantly tending to everybody else's hopes, their anxieties, their deadlines, their futures, and that's a lot of psychic weight to carry in a single workday. And I know you in your position have the same exact thing. You're always thinking about the students and how you can best help them and ease their anxieties, but that all weighs down on you.
100%. It really is. It can change your whole day. And that craving for connection is exactly what inspired today's episode. So today we're going to be stepping into the rhythm of the earth. We talk a lot in the community about the big holidays and the grand shifts, but today we're asking, why wait for a holiday to be magical? We're exploring how to find the hidden, subtle seasons right in your own backyard.
So I like this. Is going to be a fun episode. I like this topic and making sure that you're focusing and looking for the little changes.
So to lay the groundwork for today, let's look at the macro cycles of the witch's calendar. So we hear a lot of talk online and, in the communities about the Sabbats, but let's break down what they actually are.
Okay, the Sabbats are 8 essential festivals that make up the wheel of the year. They include solstices, the equinoxes, the 4 cross-quarter days that sit right in between them. Historically, pagans and witches celebrated these specific solar and agricultural milestones because their literal survival depended on it. Mm-hmm. So it depended on tracking the sun, planting crops, gathering the harvest, and knowing when it was time to do all of those things that, again, your survival depended on knowing what you were doing with these.
Absolutely. It was a completely practical calendar. And today, honoring the Sabbath serves as the ultimate foundation for seasonal living. So it helps to anchor our modern connection to those broader cycles of birth, growth, harvest, and rest.
So it reminds us that everything is cyclic. Everything moves in cycles. Nothing stays in one phase forever. And that can be true if you're looking at your personal life as well. Most of the time for me and my life, even when I've gone through difficult times, the difficult times come to an end, and then it's replaced with another cycle, and then it's replaced with another cycle. So it doesn't seem like anything lasts forever. There's a lot of cyclic motion going on in the world and in witchcraft.
Yeah, absolutely. The one constant thing that we can count on is change.
Right.
And Mother Nature shows us this in every day, every season, every year.
Especially in New England.
Especially in New England, where you could have all 4 seasons in just
one day.
All right. So let's talk more about our micro seasons now. So while the 8 big holidays give us a great macro framework, today we want to champion the micro season approach. So this means moving away from the rigid calendar to focus entirely on the immediate lived experience of the earth right outside your window.
So this introduces a practice called phenology. You can absolutely view it as a form of magic. Phrenology is the study of cyclic natural phenomena, like tracking nature's firsts.
Absolutely. So nothing like noting the exact morning you see the first robin of the year, the very first leaf to drop in autumn, very first hard frost, or your first local wildflower blooming in your neighborhood. And when you start paying attention to these tiny physical shifts, they stop being mundane weather updates and become deeply personal, hyper-local magical triggers.
That's very true. So it forces you to be present in that moment. It helps you read what I call the energetic forecast of your neighborhood. So you start learning to read the air. As soon as you go outside and you have the scents and the smells and the breeze or the lack of breeze, it gives you an idea of what's going on in your surroundings, your immediate surroundings. So you can ask yourself, is the local energy current rising or expanding? So sometimes when you go outside, especially if you've been focused on how your neighborhood feels, and I know that sounds really funny, but focus on how your neighborhood feels. And when you go outside, you can feel whether that energy is different, whether it's uplifted or whether it's kind of oppressed. It's like in the spring and summer when you go outside and you take that really big, deep breath and it's like, oh, it's spring or oh, it's summer. And then when it comes autumn and winter, you're kind of doing the whole exhale thing. Like, okay, now it's time to settle down. It's time to ground yourself and wait out the winter season until you can take that big inhale again for the following spring and the following summer. So, that's kind of how I look at it. I think everybody needs to really pay attention to their neighborhood, your workplace. You can do the same thing in your workplace. And I know sometimes you walk into work and it's like you hit a wall. It's like, oh, so we got a whole lot of energy and a whole lot of stuff going on here today, so it's going to be an interesting day. But pay attention to those little things because that's where the magic is. That's where you'll find it.
Yeah, absolutely. And your energy will resonate with the natural cycles of the seasons. So, the little shifts in just our daily living, our daily, experiences. So our bodies know when the seasons are changing. So we respond to that. Our bodies will respond to Mother Nature's cues. And, I know personally living in a coastal town, you can smell the salts in the air with summer coming, and that's always a cue that the streets are going to get clogged with tourists, but it's also a great time to be outside and walking around and just really embracing what nature has to offer. And once you align your energy with Mother Nature, you'll find that things will come the flow will come a little easier, and you'll definitely have more of a sense of where your energy should be and how your energy should be focusing at that moment.
Nice, I like that. So, talking about paying attention to that type of energy and what's going around you, and then being in the corporate world, sometimes there's a lot of butting going along with that. So, let's throw a hot take out onto the kitchen table or the altar, however it may be. Is living seasonally even actually possible anywhere in the world where we have 24/7 electricity, climate-controlled offices, grocery stores that have strawberries in December? What are your thoughts?
Oh, that is the ultimate question. So modern society expects us to be living in a state of constant summer, always producing, always high energy, always on. But our bodies and our spirits aren't machines. They aren't built to be in constant production. Our bodies have cycles just like nature, just like the earth. And we naturally crave a winter cycle, that time for introspection, that time for rest, that time for quiet and just stasis. So, there is a give and take with living in a world that the lights are always on and there's always, produce available and you're always in this go, go, go state. There's something to be said about taking a step back and aligning with the energy of nature and allowing yourself that time for rest and reflection.
Yep, I absolutely agree with that. I also think it takes, in the example of having strawberries in December, it takes a lot of the special away from the seasons if you can have whatever you want, whenever you want. I just think it takes a lot away from that. And now with this time of year and your farmers markets are open and you're actually able to get fresh local produce, that's really special. I can't wait, for spring going into summer and having fresh local corn on the cob. That's one of the things that I look forward to. But you know what? In some areas, you can get that in December. You can buy it out of the freezer. So I agree that we need to have that downtime, that reset time. And I don't know that we get enough of that the way things are in our world these days. So it's the little things like that mean so much. So think about the exact day the weather changes. So I know in the fall when I walk outside, I can smell that the air is changing. In the spring, you can smell that the air is changing and things are starting to bud, and you're looking at all of the advancements and what the new season brings. There are some folks, and I don't think I understand them, to be honest with you, that when it's winter, they start drinking hot coffee. And then when it gets warmer, they start drinking iced coffee. I drink iced coffee all year round. So that
you're also from New England.
Yeah. So we are hardy in that regard, aren't we?
Exactly.
So these are kind of the things that we're talking about when we're talking about a seasonal shift. Things that change in your world, in your life, based on the seasons. And being able to actually delineate from one season to the next season to the next season. I just think that's so important for us as human beings.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely reclaiming those seasonal rhythms while working a standard modern schedule doesn't mean you have to quit your job and move to a farm. It just means recognizing your internal shifts. You recognize those internal energy shifts, respecting your body's need to rest, and refusing to feel guilty when you aren't operating at peak capacity year round.
Yeah, and that can be very difficult. We're not really getting a lot into astrology right now. That'll come in the future. But depending on your sign, it can be very, very difficult to not feel guilty when you're not performing at peak all the time. So sometimes you just need to sit back and reflect and say, I can't. You can't drink from an empty cup. So it's very important that we take this downtime, and that there are delineations between the seasons. I just think it's very, very important.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. So this brings us to our next segment. We're going to call this the seasonal switch. So this is fun, cozy segment. We want to demonstrate that seasonal living doesn't require a 3-hour ceremonial ritual. Sometimes it's just a simple shift in your daily mundane habits. For example, each season in my office, I like to decorate. I will redecorate my office to reflect the different seasons. Mm-hmm. So in the fall, I had hanging witches' hats with lights and, bats everywhere, right. And, tapping into that Halloween-y kind of vibe. In the winter, I had Christmas lights up and snowflakes everywhere. Spring, it was like a garden threw up in my office, flowers just everywhere. And now I've switched over to an under the sea theme. So
nice.
Lots of blue and oceanic kind of vibes.
Turquoisey color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I do the same thing in my office. I had next to my door, I have a little tiny glass window that mm-hmm. is from the floor to about 3 feet up. And I found a little plastic snowman and stuck him there. So I do the same thing, and it helps mentally for me to be able to make that shift from one season to the next.
Exactly.
And I like hokey decorations, so it fits. It just works.
Yeah, any way to, tap into that creative vibe, any way to honor the changing of the seasons. We all do what we feel most inclined to do. So, some people like decorating, some people prefer to eat seasonally, so they only eat things that naturally are produced at that time of year. For some people, it's a wardrobe thing. So it's really, you have to figure out what works for your vibe.
And I didn't realize I do the wardrobe thing, especially in the fall. Because we have our things that we do in the fall, but my color scheme is always the rust and the deep greens and just very earthy colors that coincide with autumn. I like that.
Yeah. And you can also think about changing the scent profiles on your candles. So moving from bright citrus notes in the summer to spicier, heartier scents in the fall. Or changing the flavor profile of your evening tea. Something as mundane as cleaning out or swapping your daily work bag to match the texture and the energy of the coming months counts.
Yeah, I don't go to that extent, but I will say, when I feel that chill in the air, the first thing I do is go out and buy apple cinnamon candles and light them everywhere, because it just helps me with that shift, and that's my favorite season. So there's that. So it's all about bringing awareness into your normal everyday routine. It doesn't just have to be something that's here on an altar. Let that come into your entire life everywhere. Your home, your work, your car. I changed my car scent things depending on the season as well. So it helps.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it doesn't always have to be this grand spiritual event. Sometimes it's just simple, small changes that help you attune with what the season changes going, what seasonal changes going.
Well, let's talk about scents for a minute. So I brought up the cinnamon apple in the fall. Do you have any favorite scents for each one of the seasons? Or does it change year to year, or?
I'd say maybe it's more of a scent profile. Okay. I'm definitely more of a citrusy, that brighter, wake up vibe, for the summer months. Springtime, usually it's more of a floral scent that I'm more drawn to. Winter, it's definitely comfort scents. Yeah. Definitely the cinnamon and maybe a little heavier scents, mints, things like that.
Right. Do you like the evergreen candles? Are those something that you'll burn?
Yeah, I definitely will switch over my candle scents depending on the seasons. So it's really just a matter of whatever I feel the vibe is nice. Calling for.
Nice, so. Good to know. So I tend to stay pretty much the same throughout my seasons. I'm not big on the florals because it's just going to sound bad, but I feel like I'm in a funeral home whenever I smell florals, or, my grandmother's house, my meme's house, because she always had flowers around. So I kind of tend to stay away from those. But the fresh fruits, I love the citrus candles. So they're so energizing, and they're really great. So
yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering.
No, yeah. No, and my baking also changes seasonally too. So, in the winter times, I'm usually baking stuff that's a little more like the gingerbreads and like the mint chocolate chips and things that have more of a heartier flavor note.
Right.
Springtime's usually a little lighter. I'll go for more of the lavender lemon cookies and things like that. Summer is usually the lighter fare, so like the strawberry shortcake cookies, those will be like more of a summer thing, and then fall is usually coming into like apple and pumpkin and
cinnamon.
So yeah, my baking profiles definitely change seasonally too.
So for those of you who don't know, Kacey is a magnificent baker.
Thank you.
She makes the world's best cookies of any kind you could ever ask for, especially the lavender lemonade and the snickerdoodle, just saying. So if you ever have a chance, ask her to make you some cookies.
Oh, well, thank you, Dawn. I appreciate that.
So do I.
All right. So let's see. I think we're moving into our last segment. So this is our Consulting the Coven and Weekly Spark. So we're bringing our community's immediate observations into the circle. So for next week's Consulting the Coven segment, we want you to look outside your own front door. And we want to know, what is one tiny, subtle change in nature that you noticed right outside your door this morning that told you the season is quietly shifting? Email us your observations at covenscornerpodcast@gmail.com.
So this will be great for us for reading, because I think sometimes other people catch things that we might not catch. So to hear about what it is that signals the change for you might make us look at things in a different focus. So I'm really looking forward to reading those. So please send them in. And it gives us something to talk about in future segments, too.
Absolutely.
All right. So before we close our circle, let's hit our weekly spark and pull a card.
All right.
Sound good? All right.
So what deck are we using today?
So we are using the Higher Self Messages Oracle deck. So that's what the cover of the deck looks like. And that's just so very me.
It is very you.
All right, so
and Saturn, of course, is your ruling planet.
So I'm just going to shuffle these up. So while we're doing this, think of a question, some guidance that you might be looking for in your own life or your own practice or whatever the case may be, and then see if the cards that we pull kind of correlate with that and give you some of the answers that you might be looking for.
Yeah, let's see what the universe has for guidance for us for seasonal living this week. Interesting.
Okay, what you got?
All right, so mine says, the message is, everything you want is on the other side of the unknown.
Ooh. So maybe that resonated with some of you. Did it resonate with you?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so mine says, when you start, the path appears. So take a step in any direction.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot.
Very nice.
Very nice.
So hopefully one of these two cards, or both, or maybe neither, factored into what direction you are looking at for some guidance.
All right, so To close us out, we want to just thank you so much for being here with us. We have really enjoyed doing these episodes for you, and if you have any questions or any topics that you want to hear for an upcoming episode, feel free to email us, covenscornerpodcast@gmail.com. We're always looking for new things to learn about ourselves, or if we, can share some of our knowledge on a certain topic, we'd love to do that. So if you have any topics you'd like to see us discuss in future episodes, or any guidance that you have for us, please feel free to email us, and we will definitely put together, anything for future episodes.
Awesome. So don't forget, we want to see how you're connecting with the earth. Take a photo of your most used seasonal ingredient or a little piece of nature from your backyard. Send it to us on Instagram and or TikTok at Coven's Corner Podcast.
So we'll be back next Witchy Wednesday. Until then, stay mindful, open your eyes to the tiny shifts around you, and remember that the magic is always unfolding in the present moment.
Nice. Thank you all.
Thank you. As we close the circle for today, remember that the magic doesn't end with this episode. Keep looking for the magic in the mundane. If you enjoyed today's conversation, we'd love for you to connect with our Coven. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Coven's Corner Podcast and at www.thecovenscorner.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a Witchy Wednesday. We'll see you next time.